This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claims School Incorporated's blog, Zalma on Insurance. Today we're going to talk about statutory employees and workers' compensation benefits and why the definition of a word contractor controlled contract interpretation. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeal was asked to resolve who was responsible for workers' compensation claim filed by Stephen Brock, who was injured while driving a truck for Stafford Transport of Michigan, Incorporated, while Brock, an authorized driver for Kenneth Carver Trucking Company, LLC, was not covered by workers' compensation insurance at the time of his accident. However, Stafford had 3 insurance policies, including a contingent liability policy issued by Crum and Forster Specialty Insurance Company. In Stafford Transport v. Crum and Forster, the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit on February 4, 2025, was asked and answered the question of whether it should provide coverage for Mr. Brock, who had become a paraplegic as a result of the accident. The district court ruled in favor of Stafford and Great American, stating that Brock was a covered person under the contingent liability policy. Crum appealed, arguing that Brock was not a covered person and that an exclusion applied. On September 9, 2021, Brock had filed a claim against Stafford and Great American before the Georgia State Board of Workers' Compensation, seeking payment of workers' compensation benefits as Stafford's statutory employee. Great American demanded that Crum defend Stafford against the claim. Stafford entered into a consent agreement with Brock, stating that he was a statutory employee of Stafford. Crum then confirmed that it would not extend coverage under the contingent liability policy because Brock was not a covered person under the contract as an owner, operator, or contractor of Stafford, and did not have a fully executed contract with Stafford. A contractor, the 11th Circuit noted, is defined as someone who is a party to a contract or a person or company that agrees to do work or provide goods for another company, and contrary to Crum's argument, the district court was allowed to look at the contract as a whole to determine the reasonable interpretation of that term. Brock had a covered contract with Stafford through the Kenneth Carver Trucking Agreement. The policy stated that owner-operators and contractors must have a written covered contract with Stafford. A covered contract meant a fully executed contract between a covered person and Stafford. As the 11th Circuit explained in its opinion, a covered person includes the owner-operators and contract drivers, and the use of the plural covered persons that have a written covered contract in contrast to the other 3 requirements which use singular verbs means members of the owner-operator and contract driver group can collectively have a single contract, while the other conditions must be satisfied by one individual. So Brock had a written covered contract with Stafford based on the Kenneth Carver Trucking Agreement, even without an individual contract. The 11th Circuit concluded, therefore, that the district court correctly rejected Crum's argument that the Kenneth Carver Trucking Agreement was not fully executed, even though Stafford did not sign the agreement. Kenneth Carver Trucking signed the agreement, and Stafford's acceptance could be, according to the 11th Circuit, inferred, and therefore the summary judgment in favor of Stafford and Great American was affirmed. This video was adapted from my blog, Zalma on Insurance, which is available free to anyone who clicks on the URL zalma.com/blog. You can subscribe to the blog and you'll receive notice of every blog posting, usually 5, sometimes 6 a week, and you'll gain access to the more than 4,950 blog postings. You can also subscribe to these videos at rumble.com or youtube.com, and if you do, I'd appreciate a thumbs up button clicked on Rumble or a like button clicked on YouTube. And if you're interested in further detail about insurance, insurance claims, insurance fraud, and insurance law, please consider for a very small fee subscribing to my Substack publication, and please tell your friends and colleagues about this blog and these videos so that they too can subscribe. Thank you for your attention.